called Mysterious, so I figured it was appropriate.
Oh shit.
Goth Yearbook After Hours.
Intro I made. Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Goth Yearbook After Hours. It is I, your host as always, Eric, aka the Eric Wynn, and with me as always is that hostess with the mostest, Caitlin, aka the Caitlin D. Caitlin, how's it mysterious lighting?
Way to open with a totally non-visual.
This is for the YouTubers.
Yeah. Okay. So for the YouTubers, you'll notice I have this beautiful, mysterious lighting behind me. I got a new light bulb. This is really exciting stuff. That you can basically program with your phone. And by program, I mean just point to a color on a color wheel. But it's really funny because the color wheel, I opened it up. I'll give a visual for the YouTube watchers that is completely backwards and unreadable.
For the listener at home, it is a color wheel, as you could imagine.
Angry. But like there's parts of it labeled. And I'll give you a few of the adjectives. Disappointed for a big whole grouping of blues. Sad, grief, relax, jolly, amazed, worried, angry, cranky, horrify, which is pinkish purple. This is horrifying.
Kind of like what I was gonna say. That's supposed to be horrified, huh? It's so
and
calming.
This is mysterious. I do like the mysterious one.
Me too. I'm vibing on that.
The angry one is. So anyway, this is all like very visual.
The angry one is more like a trendy like restaurant you would go to on Sunset or some shit like that.
It's just very clear from looking at this color wheel that first of all, this person was not concerned with like user experience whatsoever. They were only concerned with getting across that their favorite color is green and that every other color makes them feel horrible.
Yeah. They were like going through a bad breakup when they first invented this concept, and like every color was like a joyful sort of like adjective.
It does sound like that. Disdain, angry, aggravated, cranky, nervous, concerned, confused, surprised, afraid, worried. And then there's like 4 positive ones and they're all in green, and it's amazed, happy, interested, and relaxed.
Interested. Yeah, interested is like barely even like a positive one. It's like neutral, basically.
This is interested.
Huh. What if you're on a date and you bring the guy back and like that's like his report card, like you're like, I'm interested in the story, but he starts saying something you don't like it starts turning red behind you.
That would be a better light bulb, I think, if it could read my emotions. But this was $12.
That would
worth
be like
every
those
penny.
like love machine things like you see at bars and shit like that. You grab it and it's like, oh, you're a cold trout, but then you grab it harder and it's like hot mama coming through.
It's like sex machine, and you're like, I'm 11.
Mom, can I have more quarters? This machine said I'm a sex machine.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
So you want me to read your horoscope?
I got yours pulled up already.
Has anyone requested that we do this? It seems weird that you keep asking me to do this. All right.
Only once we done it. This one just was perfect because I pulled it up beforehand to see if I could find a good one. And this one, just you wait. What if it said your name in it? Caitlin. No, okay, here we go. I got this one from horoscope.com.
Which, by the way, today, astrologically is significant because, I don't know if this is astrologically or just historically, but April 14th, 1912.
Yes.
I bet you jackheads out there know know what that means. That's right. It is the date that the Titanic sank, and that the fictional character Jack Dawson dated the Rose drawing where she was naked like a French girl.
Mm-hmm.
And April 14th, 2021 is the day I got blocked by 2 people on Twitter because I've been off Instagram for 24 hours. And apparently that's not a good thing. So now I have deleted Twitter because I just keep getting into arguments.
Sorry, just Jack had made me think real quickly. You know how the Cinerama Dome
oh no,
RIP?
ArcLight, RIP, yeah.
Yeah, someone was posting like a bunch because like for the premieres at that place. For anyone who doesn't know, it's like this like geodesic dome place in
How
LA.
is there no one in Hollywood that can save that?
Yeah, that's true. You would think that Tarantino or some guy like that would want to go in and like
Or
maybe
like
they
a
will.
bunch of people.
Who knows what's going on? But it is closing. We know that much. We know it's
ArcLight's closing, yeah.
Yeah. And someone's posting. They used to always like go all out for movie premieres. Like if it was like Terminator, there'd be a fucking robot on it, whatever. And then it was just so funny because they were using like a bunch of iconic movies over the years. And then randomly in the middle of all of it was the 90s movie Jack Frost, the one with Michael Keaton. And it was just
iconic.
A big old snowman's hat on the globe. And it's just so funny.
Another like, jackhead, yeah.
I was going to say, like, that'd be so perfect. There was like this small sect of people that were like, we're jackheads. We're huge Jack Frost fans.
Synchronistically,
yes,
the only movie I can remember seeing in the Cinerama Dome, which doesn't mean I haven't seen more in there, especially with the amount of weed that I used to smoke, but was Avatar, another James Cameron film.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like Terminator. Was Jack Frost a Cameron? No, that'd be funny if it was.
No, I'm talking about Titanic. I know. You jackhead. All right. Okay. So read my horoscope, please.
Oh yeah. I honestly forgot why we're even here, what we were even doing. April 14, 2021, Taurus. You're peerless when it comes to your ability to sway others to your point of view, Taurus. Today, you may
not on Twitter.
Today, you may be put on the spot and asked to defend a position in front of many people. You will do just fine, surprising everyone but yourself. You handle a microphone with ease and work an audience until they're putty in your hands. You could sell anything.
Well, it
Good
is
time to
maybe
mention our Patreon.
Yeah, so check out patreon.com / Goth Yearbook After Hours. Become putty in my hands. Yeah, no, maybe I did better on Twitter than I thought. It's just like, you know how some people can like get into arguments with strangers online and like just completely brush it off?
Yeah.
I will like start sweating randomly throughout the day and be like what if I'm just wrong about everything and my whole life is a catastrophe? And I end up, that's why I like keep deleting Twitter because I'll get on it and normally I don't pay any attention to it, which is why like we have no followers on Twitter because we don't engage anything.
We're trying
but then when I do engage, sometimes someone will get under my skin and like, it was a thread about like, should I even go
one of the horrific things that happened this week?
No, it was literally just some girl who was like, why, like men who are emotionally unavailable should just not date. And I was like, yeah, that's like why sex work should be legal. And of course, it then like, you know, 8 hours later, I'm like the center of a conversation about sex trafficking and like how my privileged white woman ass who does sex work for fun isn't like, and I'm like, we're talking about men who are emotionally unavailable, not like the fucking sex trafficking problem.
Fuck.
That's Twitter in a nutshell, though.
I don't engage like that at all across any of the platforms. I used to, and like I finally had to stop myself. It came to a head on Facebook. I'm from the East Bay area, for those of you who don't know, and far East Bay, there's this thing called the Clay Court. It's like this like blog, and basically it is it's horrific. Just the blatant racist, homophobic, misogynistic, just awful things are spewed on there. A restaurant, like just a Korean barbecue restaurant, was being put in where a sizzler used to be, a fucking like disgusting sizzler. It was turning into a Korean barbecue, and just like the comments on were so horrific. And this was like my last like hoorah, was like going in there and just like wiling out like on every single fucking guy.
Yeah,
primarily guys. Then that were saying some fucked up shit, and like just like when they were getting like too saucy with it. Like I was also getting too saucy with that. I was like, tell me where you're at, man. I'll drive down right now.
Yeah, that's the problem is like it starts off like, oh, I have like this witty one-liner I'll just throw out there. What's the worst that could happen? And then like every time I actually get engaged in something like this on Twitter, I end up really glad that I don't have like 30,000 Twitter followers because oh my God, what a nightmare. Everything you post turns into like that poor girl who posted it was probably just like, ugh, men. And then like it just adjusts.
And you were kind of too, like you were just sort of like half like, yeah, but this is what we do with those men. Like
yeah, it was like, yeah, get it, like they should get a hooker and that should be legal and those hookers shouldn't have to go to jail because they're and then like it just turned into a horrible cesspool of humanity and like I almost called people cunts and I didn't, like I thought about it. It's just like I don't need this. Like
my mouse. That's too fucking funny.
I'm gonna have to change my light setting to angry.
I like it. You know what?
All right. What?
Yeah, let's read mine real quickly, and then let's bring our guest in.
Yeah.
I do want to hear mine real fast.
Aquarius, the most talented dancer in the world. That's all it says. No, can experience a misstep. Uh-oh. The smartest mathematician can get the numbers wrong. I see where this is going. You fucked up today, didn't you?
Man, every single time you give me like a reading, like you pull my tarot or you give me like my horoscope, it's always like horrific death and damnation. I pulled the card of locust and plague for you.
The greatest songwriter can compose a flop. None of us are perfect, but some of us, such as you, Aquarius, hold themselves to very high standards and leave little room for anything but for perfection. I thought it was going to be like, none of us are perfect.
And neither of you.
But you're a real piece of shit. Today you may be criticizing an error you made.
Eric,
fearing that a similar error will occur again with something new. That's unlikely this time. Have confidence.
Shit, thank you. Where'd you pull that one from?
That is from my application on my phone, Daily Horoscope.
Thank you, Daily Horoscope. I see that, and I will meditate on that, and tomorrow's a brand new day.
What was mine again? I'm just good with a microphone.
Yeah, it said that you're gonna say some like
hell yeah
crazy ass shit and to just like feel confident about it, and people are gonna actually be more swayed than you realize.
Well, I probably convinced a lot of people to decriminalize sex work today then, and I had no idea. Oh. I definitely didn't just get blocked by a bunch of people on Twitter.
Well, we thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, let's invite our guest in for this evening, who is, I already see the microphone coming on, and here comes, I believe, the camera shortly. We got ourselves the writer and director of the incredible film, The Kid Detective, Evan Morgan, joining us this evening. Hello, sir. How is it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. I meant to ask you before we start recording, I know that you're Canadian. Are you actually in Canada, or is this where are you telecommuting from this evening?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh shit, Toronto. Nice. Thank you again for coming on the show. We were right before we were about to start the show, we were all getting into a deep little bit of a Titanic chat. And I wanted to stop it because there was synchronicity that Caitlin, I don't even know if you saw happening, but Evan, I think you caught it yourself. Caitlin, again, tell us a little bit about some of the weird shit that was surrounding the Titanic.
Oh God, I wish I actually had prepared for this because it is actually really fascinating and I don't have like the specific details in front of me. Mm-hmm. But for instance, there was like a known cursed mummy on board. And there was like a rare copy of Omar Khayyam's The Rubaiyat on board, which was, I believe there was something sacred about it, like you weren't supposed to move it. It was like they had like certain artifacts on board that like shouldn't have been moved and stuff. There was a fiction book that, once again, if I had known we were gonna do this, I wish I had been better prepared because I would have the book title and the actual things.
We'll do it. We already discussed. We're gonna have a fun Titanic thing in the works.
We talked about Titanic a lot.
Well, while you're looking that up, though, Caitlin,
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know if
look it
you
up.
know this or not, but our dear friend Evan Morgan here, our dear friend Evan, was actually in the Goosebumps episode from the 90s, Don't Wake Mummy, which I just watched like an hour ago and very much was like all about
Oh.
like don't touch it, ancient artifacts that shouldn't be touched and moved, and the second they were, things were coming alive. Real good. Evan, I kind of briefly told you this when I reached out to you, but when we first started our, I apologize for my dog barking, by the way. When we first started our show, every Sunday we would do a Goosebumps like book club thing where we went and read one and we'd like watch the episode and break it down. We didn't get to Don't Wake Mommy, but one of the things that we saw a lot of was like the fake out, and your episode is just fake out after fake out for like 20
Yeah, it's
minutes.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to clarify. There was no book for Don't Wake Mommy. I guess they ran out of books by my episode in season 2, and it was an original script. And I don't know how many of those there were. I would imagine more than just mine. But what was great about it is I think the Goosebumps books that feature the mummies were all set in like a museum or something, or like a tomb, right?
Yeah.
And in mine, the twist was that my parents are archaeologists, and so they have a mummy shipped to their house, and the mummy's in the basement, and so all the action is very concentrated, and yeah, I guess they were running out of ideas, obviously, and they just needed a new backdrop for the same shit that they were doing with the mummies and the other stories. But anyway, yeah, that's why you wouldn't have been able to do it anyway for your Goosebumps of the Week, because there was no corresponding literature.
Gotcha. Because I know that, yeah, there are some mummy books, but, I was actually trying to look up the book and I couldn't find it. And I was a little confused because I know they've done like a couple different ones. Now there's clarity on the situation.
Speaking of clarity on the situation, yes. So this is actually crazier than I even remember. There were 2 fictional stories penned in 1886 and 1898 that describe events that share uncanny similarities with the tragedy. This is according to Business Insider, so they mean business. And so this guy, W.T. Stead, was one of the authors, and basically he wrote this story that this was in 1886. So this is what, like 20, 30 years, I don't know math, but like 40 years before.
It was before it happened.
Well before it happened. And his short story was called How the Mail Steamer Went Down in Mid-Atlantic by a Survivor. Not the catchiest title, maybe not the greatest writer, but obviously a prophet, because he tells the story of an unnamed ocean liner that sinks in the Atlantic. The protagonist is a sailor named Thompson, not Jack, who grows concerned over the lifeboat shortage on deck. And sure enough, the liner collides with not an iceberg, but a small sailing ship. And so he concludes this story very ominously with this is exactly what might take place and what will take place if the liners are sent to sea short of boats. And he fucking died on the Titanic.
No way. Are you serious?
Yes.
That'd be like R.L. Stein dying by a mummy. By like he's like, well, this is what could happen, but I'm gonna have one sent to my house anyways.
Because he like goes in his dad's basement.
Oh man, stay out of the basement.
We see you, Mr. Stead. That sucks.
Steadfast.
We can't even remember his name. W.T. Stead.
Kind of sounds like a boat name.
I wonder if he had a fun time prior to the iceberg, or if he was just really preoccupied with those lifeboats.
Oh my God. Can you imagine being there and being
there.
Like, I knew this was going to happen, and I still came on the ship. Yeah, a huge bummer for him, but a big win for this episode of the podcast.
Right.
He should have just pulled a Billy Zane, pretended a baby was his, and hopped on a boat. One of my all-time favorite moves by anyone in any movie is Billy Zane grabbing a baby and being like,
I have a child.
I do that with Murph all the time. My dog Murph. I walk around and just like recreate that scene.
I heard someone whistling. Like I heard an actual like very weak but repetitive whistle the other day when I was like hanging out somewhere outside, and I was like, "Is that Rose?" Like just cleaning to a door. I was like,
Oh shit. And I am curious, because Goosebumps, that was like a Canadian show technically, right? I feel like I remember reading somewhere like a lot of it was filmed in Canada, or
I think all of it was shot here, and like so many Canadian actors who went on to become pretty big, I think, have their like Goosebumps episode hidden away somewhere. I know Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling did it. I'm pretty sure, and I think maybe like Alicia Cuthbert and Hayden Christensen. Maybe I'm getting confused with another Canadian horror show called Are You Afraid of the Dark? But
yeah, that's maybe where my mind went.
Everybody who was working at that time did one of the two.
Yeah.
And
your
it was like a rite of
co-star,
passage.
even I believe she's on Criminal Minds, isn't she?
Yes, that's right. AJ. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say anything. I mean, that's right. She, I guess, she did the Virgin Suicides as well.
No
like
shit.
maybe 2 years after we shot our episode, and so I was really
Oh, wow.
proud of the fact that she played my sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she one of the sisters in that movie?
Yeah, she's the eldest of the girls.
I need to revisit it. I love that movie too, but truthfully, it's been a minute since I've seen it.
It's a bummer.
It is. Oh, one of my favorite soundtracks, though. Love it.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, Air. Shouts out, Air. What was I going to ask you? Oh, so with the Goosebumps, I was just curious, was that your first gig as a child, or had you like gone, like had you done like some like local stuff and that was like your like kind of like the big times?
I only did it for a really short period of time, and I guess I did like a few like plays or whatever in school, but I just decided one day I wanted to be an actor, and just found an agent, and then the Goosebumps I think was like one of the first things I auditioned for, and afterwards I did maybe a few other auditions. My agent ended up quitting, and I just never got another one, and ended up with like, going through this sort of the awkward teenage phase where I had braces shortly thereafter, and just lost my kind of like, I guess, whatever confidence sort of propels you as a child to want to go be on camera.
Right.
I just lost it. And, and then for the years afterwards, I was like, oh, why did I quit? Who knows? But I don't know, I've let it go at last.
I got you there, man. I used to do like school plays and all this stuff, and I might have talked about this years ago on the show, but my school, I went to like this like small little kind of like religious school, and there, I guess in the 90s maybe they were going through like a little phase of like wanting everyone to be included. So what they would do is like for certain musicals they would have like the ones who actually like got the role, they would be like on the center stage, but then they would put like on the two side stages like people playing the same roles who would get like, they wouldn't do the acting per se, but they would do like maybe some of the songs, stuff like that. So in The Wizard of Oz, I was the third Cowardly Lion. I was way the fuck like on the side stage, and there was literally like a plant. Like they didn't even move this fucking. And this is like a part of the play. This was like a plant that's always there on the stage with like a frond leaf, like just covering my fucking bare face. Talk about that was like. I've never acted since then.
Can I tell you a horrible story?
Yeah.
Can I tell you a truly terrifying or terrible story about like school play auditions? I in grade 7, our school did Cinderella, the Rodgers and Hammersteins. It was a musical.
Nice.
And so in addition to doing, I guess, like a monologue, you had to sing in front of everyone else who was auditioning.
Wow.
One of the songs, and they gave you the tape with the song. And I learned it and sung it and did it for my parents. But the song, the instrumentation was like in a higher octave than what I was singing. It was a pretty high octave.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, you got to sing it in the octave in which they gave it to you. You got to just go for it. That's what they want to hear. And convinced me to do the whole audition in this like super high falsetto, like a true like Welsh choir boy. And I was like 13 and went into this classroom full of my peers, played this tape and sung it, and you could hear a pin drop in the room. And like, re-experiencing it now is not much easier, to be honest. And
That's what we're here
the teacher told my parents ultimately, he was like, oh, he did really well with like the dramatic part of the audition, but wow, like he can't sing a note. And
Oh
they
no.
felt really guilty. And here's the irony: I'm actually pretty good. I'm like, I don't know, I'm a pretty good singer when it comes to like karaoke stuff. And so my parents have always felt like this was a huge failing on their part, and have always felt guilt about it. A few years there later in high school, we had to do we did a unit in English classes in my final year of high school. And we did a unit on, I guess it was Hamlet, and we each had to learn a monologue as part of an assignment and perform the monologue. And this is where I really should have, I had the benefit of hindsight at this point. I learned this monologue, how to act it, got ready to present it, and made the mistake of showing it to my mom again.
Oh no.
She was like, was she like, you need to go a whole octave higher?
She's like, you need to sing this in a falsetto.
She said, you have to do an English accent. You have to go, you have to really do it and really perform it in an English accent. So again, I went into class like an idiot. And these were 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and did truly the whole thing. Like, Bradley Cooper and Billy Madison during the academic decathlon?
Yeah.
It was a notch below that in terms of how ridiculous it was. And there was a girl in the front row who was dying laughing, like trying to contain her laughter, just like tears literally coming out of her eyes. But I committed to it at this point. And so I couldn't just like stop from the first line. I knew it was a mistake.
Oh no.
And did the whole thing. And now my parents feel incredibly guilty and have refrained from giving me any kind of advice.
Is your mom Tina Belcher? Just like
yeah, I would not show her. What was that like when you showed them the finished product of your movie, The Kid Detective, where you're just like, oh my God, what you gonna say?
Well, at that point it was done. And, I don't show them works in progress for the same kind of the basic reason where it's just like,
right.
I can't trust you anymore.
I think that's smart. I don't think you should.
Yeah, that was a good move by you.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So we got a lot of questions. I want to get into them, but just real quickly, The Kid Detective, which if you're out there and you haven't seen it yet, you got it. It's like this past year, I've been watching I've been revisiting a lot of movies. I haven't really watched too many new ones, and the ones that I did watch that were new, they were good, but they just, I don't know, maybe because it was kind of like a fucked up year, they just felt a little too poignant. Some of them are a little too this, a little too that. Just like it was hard. And your movie, man, I remember reading about it a little bit ago, and actually I watched it on Valentine's Day with my wife. We just we thought it'd be like a fun, kind of cute thing. And I was so excited, like when I saw it, when I was flipping through the stuff and I saw it come up, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I read about this. I think it's gonna be so cool. Like Adam Brody's in it. He's so fucking sick. And it was so much better than like I could have even imagined. Like it totally reminded me of, it kind of like had that like feel of like a 90s indie film, like that one that like your cool older sibling or like your friend kind of knows about, like, and everyone, it's like a word of mouth like cool thing, and like it becomes like this like real cool cult thing, which I feel like a lot of movies try to be like that or try to go for that vibe, but they just don't. But yours like really truly has like that legit vibe, like that one of like that movie that would have been passed around back in the 90s. So again, just real quickly, that's just like my little, for anyone out there, you gotta check it out. But I did want to ask, because I'm actually a huge OC fan, or was. I grew up at the right time for that show. It was on when I was in high school, and I'm just curious, like, how did you and Adam Brody, the guy who plays Seth Cohen on the OC, how did you guys like connect?
Well, first, thank you for everything that you just said about the movie. I mean, that's like so cool to hear. And this movie, our release has been super strange because of COVID. We've never actually watched it with an audience, and so it's really nice to kind of get that feedback. And each time we hear something like that, we just kind of like unclench a little bit, because there were so many decisions that were made that we never got to test on anybody. In terms of like the comedy and a bunch of different things. So it's really cool that you happened upon it and watched it on Valentine's Day, and Yeah, I mean, the movie does get fairly dark by the end. It's not
That's romance.
a perfect Valentine's Day choice, but I'm honored that you chose it. And as far as the question with respect to Adam, I was just a huge OC fan.
Oh, hell yeah.
Particularly the first season. The first
Yes.
season I thought was like amazing.
Mhm.
I couldn't have been more invested in like the arcs of that first season, and I attribute a lot of it to the casting and particularly the way that Adam broke out of the formula of that show and was just doing something so different and so funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Peter Gallagher as well. It was like my hero. You
Oh
know, when
yeah.
I was watching it, he was like the coolest dad I'd ever seen on television, and their kind of dynamic together, and the dynamic between so many of those cast members, I just thought was just so captivating and just so much fun. And I wasn't expecting to enjoy it. Like I was late to the game. I dismissed it originally as just, you know, like a teen soap opera thing, and was surprised by how much I loved it. And then I got kind of like obsessed with it, and like used to watch it like every morning with my breakfast, those DVDs. And then
You were
Adam was a TIFF
manifesting.
Yeah.
about that's what they say. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and but Adam ended up. I ran into him originally at a TIFF party, and then the next night at a TIFF party, and I spoke with him both times because I was just like, well, I have to say hello, and ended up sharing some of my work with him, you know, I was basically planning to like pitch him ideas. I got very involved with another movie that I was shooting at the time, a super low budget film called The Dirties that I made with some film school friends
Oh, so
back in
it was
2013.
yeah, so it was that long ago.
It's
I
very,
was gonna say that was that came out quite a bit ago.
oh
That's how
yeah.
long ago you guys connected. Wow.
Oh yeah, The Kid Detective was an odyssey. It took forever to get this film made, and basically, we were at Slam Dance with that film, and he was at Sundance with another movie, and I ran into him in the street, and then again that night at another thing, and that was where it really started happening. Where I was just like, you know, I showed him The Dirties, and I showed him a short film that I had done, and we just started to get serious about trying to find an idea to do together. The Kid Detective originally I'd had an idea when I was in film school to do like a short film about like an actual kid who was solving like really dark crimes in this sort of very dangerous kind of alt universe, you
Yeah.
know, like a very dark Encyclopedia Brown.
Right.
And it was only after I connected with Adam and I was going through my old notebook full of ideas and I saw an opportunity to just update this one, you know, make him a 30 something, or at the time the character was supposed to be in his late 20s, but it took us 7 years to make the movie. And so I just got so excited about that particular twist on the original premise and completely saw what Adam could bring to it. And just started sharing the script with him as I went. And the first part of it came pretty quickly. The stuff that's just about the character as a kid and then an adult and the way the relationship changes with his environment. That stuff just like popped right out as soon as I had the idea. And then what took a much longer time was the actual mystery that he's going to solve.
Right.
And you have to write a mystery backwards, and it's a slower process and doesn't, you know, I found that like for me it was very slow, and it took like a year I guess to finish the script from that point. And then it took 4 years to finance, for more than four, and then we shot it in September October of 2019, so it'll be 2 years in the fall.
Wow. And you're just now like, I mean, I guess it's been kind of out for a minute now, but I know like the rollout of it because it came out like in October, but just started streaming I think in the last 2 months. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So it was only in theaters in October in the midst of COVID. So
Right.
it
Shit.
was, you know, it's like if you really want to roll the dice and go see a movie, then you'll probably feel pretty safe in The Kid Detective because
Yeah.
it's not like it's going to be a lot of other people. And it was very much like a 11th hour acquisition on Sony's part, and they put it into theaters like 10 days after they told us the release date. And it was just like a
Whoa.
crazy COVID era, super rushed out of a cannon, you know, just very surreal like release. And then it arrived on the digital platforms in January. And I feel like, you know, at each stage, people are, you know, more people are sort of becoming aware of it, and hopeful that that will continue as it like starts to head elsewhere onto other platforms. And But it's been a weird experience having spent so long making the movie to then have it suddenly in the world. And, it's a weird thing to kind of, I think in other years, it would be, easier to let go of the project because you'd go and you'd watch it with an audience and you do the Q&A and you'd be able to stare at it and recognize it as a finished product. This time it was just so strange. It felt so abstract that I still feel like when I wake up every day, I'm like, whoa, kid detective, like what do I need to do? And we'll find a way, and stupidly to keep working on it. Yeah, so it's been quite a journey and a weird final chapter, but it's so reassuring that like people are finding it, and it's really cool that it can be a movie that you tell your friends about that they might not have seen, and it's sort of like a still kind of a sort of a secret thing.
Yeah, the second I saw, like the second like it was done, like I was like in like my like boys chat thing, like asking all of them, like, did you guys see this yet? Like, it's so good. Like everyone, it's definitely, in my opinion, like the kind of movie that invites people to have those kinds of conversations, which is so exciting because I feel like these days there's really great movies that come out. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there is so much incredible stuff that's like continually being put out each year. But I feel like I don't know. It's been a long time since I had like that like real fun, like excited energy to like go like find other people. Like, did you see this? Like I want to find other people that to like talk about this with. Yeah, it's a great movie. Seriously, I was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. And again,
thank you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's like such a common thing right now that there's just like a lack of catharsis happening with people, and like just things like I don't know, like how do we even, and I mean besides like the horrible things happening, it's like we don't have like all these like big cultural outlets where people are like, like people go outside and scream. I guess sometimes it's so funny. I don't know if this like ever happened in Toronto, but here at least people were doing at the beginning of the pandemic, like 8:00 p.m. people go outside and they're like, woo, and they're like banging on pots for like essential workers and stuff. And like it pretty much died down
we
within
didn't do
like
it.
yeah, it's good. It's ridiculous. But it's really just people who need to go outside and be like, and like it was funny because a few weeks ago I went outside and it was like 8 p.m. I think I was just like switching my laundry or something, and I just like heard like 3 people like, woo. It's like, yeah.
That is the kind of year we're in for sure.
Yay.
Yeah.
Evan, we did get a bunch of questions that I'd like to jump right into. And these are, I just wrote them down in the order I got them. But the first person wanted to know, Poltergeist or Exorcist?
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen either of those movies. But from the one time that I've seen each of them, I would say The Exorcist.
Oh, one time only for The Exorcist? Damn.
Yeah, one time I've had The Exorcist in my queue for like 3 years or 4 to be, to go back and rewatch it. But I really, I remember really liking it. I remember not really being that scared by it, but a part of that I think has to do with the fact that my mom always used to talk about it as like the scariest film she'd ever seen. Like you'd like nothing could possibly be scarier than The Exorcist.
I want to meet your mom. Let's have her on the podcast next time.
Well, it's certain that Linda Blair, was a student of hers as far as the performance. But no, no, I'm joking.
I was like, what?
My mom was the one who told her to turn her head around.
Wow.
But no, I've been meaning to go back and watch that forever. And Poltergeist, I mean, I love like that era of like, those kind of like Amblin, like Spielberg-y things.
Same.
But for whatever reason, I haven't gone back to check that one out in a while.
I really love that era. I think I've said this before, but I think Spielberg captured like, I don't know, like a certain kind of like suburban, he was able to just capture that suburban era so perfectly in a way that didn't feel like, I don't know, nowadays if you film like something in the suburbs, like it's so easy for it to like border on looking like commercial or something like that. And his like almost like there's just something about like you're watching like an actual home video or something like that. Like he would always like add in these little elements that really like innocuous. Or I know supposedly Hooper is the one who directed that, so I don't want to get into all the. I mean, whatever, that production company in general, they were doing really good stuff. But man,
Yeah.
The Exorcist, to this day I love that movie so much. When I first saw it, maybe I don't know, for whatever reason, I was given no sort of like preamble to it, so it fucking scared the shit out of me when I saw it as a little kid. What about you, Kaylin? Do you have
It might scare me more now, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely need to go back to The Exorcist for sure.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me. Will Damon would know the answer to this question. I haven't seen either
know
movie.
the answer. Okay, fair enough. The next question we got here is,
you don't even want to deal with my bullshit anymore, Evan, anyone who's listening without context. The context is Eric has watched, listened to, played every game, been everywhere in the world, made every friend, everything, all the experience in media that there is to consume and experience, Eric has done, and I haven't done anything or seen anything. So that's the trope, but it's actually true somehow, and I apologize for not having seen it. I don't know why I haven't. I'll get around to it eventually.
you're golden.
I've seen Kid Detective.
Hell yeah, that's all that matters.
I picked that one.
There you go.
There you go. I like that. Someone wanted to know, what is your personal favorite Goosebumps tale? And then they asked, what inspires the scariness?
Well, I used to be a huge fan of the Goosebumps books when I was a kid. I used to I think they released one. Was it one every month? I feel like it wasn't more frequent than that, right? But it wasn't once a week. I think it was once a month. I remember always wanting to go to the store on the same day every month to get the new Goosebumps book. And I think I don't know. As a kid, it's just fun to collect stuff. And those books, the way that they had that, but the book covers, they had such texture where there's always the Goosebumps on the Goosebumps graphic.
Yeah.
And I think there was something maybe even more alluring about the kind of the imagery and the sort of and the ritual of it than even the stories themselves, because again, it was not like a kid who was impervious to being scared or whatever. I don't remember them really scaring me that much. I remember the one that did was, I think it was Say Cheese and Die. I think that was the one that I put under my bed one time because I got too scared. And it was the only one that I can remember really freaking me out, and I put it under my bed. So I guess that one is my favorite.
Hell yeah.
I feel like that's the most dangerous place to put it. If it's scaring you, it's like,
I didn't want to leave the bed. I didn't want to leave the bed. I was too afraid of what might be outside and what might be under it. So I just had to drop it, I guess. Drop it down the crack or whatever.
I like the idea of being I'm a scholar. I'm collecting these works and putting them on your shelf in the library. Because I totally had that experience too, where you're I'm reading a series. I'm gonna archive my most recent addition to my collection.
And I think the other thing with Goosebumps as well is they seemed grown up dumbly, stupidly, they just seemed kind of grown up because they were horror books. And so if you're 11 and you're oh, that's supposed to be scary, it's an aspirational thing. And I remember looking at older kids reading them and being oh man, I can't wait until I can, I'm allowed to buy those and read those. And so I think that had a lot to do with it too. And then of course, when you're reading Goosebumps, you look at the people who are reading Fear Street, the Christopher Pike books, and R.L. Stein's Fear Street, and then that was aspirational. It's whoa, once you get to those ones, it's there's graphic sexuality or whatever. It's a whole other dimension of it.
Well, and that's how you realize that books have all these things that you're not allowed to watch in movies, but you can read it in a book, and it's
whoa. Yeah, absolutely.
Boobs.
Right. Yeah.
Did either of you read Stephen King when you were younger?
I didn't.
I've still never read a Stephen King book.
I would read. I was reading his books and Goosebumps at the same time back then, which is so funny because I understood that the Stephen King ones were and at times they were harder for me to read when I was a certain age, but at the same time they were so interchangeable to me, both. I was just oh, so spooky, but also so entertaining, just totally flipping the pages late at night, and like I was supposed to be asleep, but I'd had like I got a little like nightlight reader thing from like the Scholastic Fair or whatever, and like I'd be like under the covers just like pouring through all these things, like oh my gosh, so mysterious and spooky.
I think what Goosebumps did really well was like they made adults seem stupid and kids seem smart. Like all the books are like the adults didn't know what the heck was going on, but I knew.
Yeah.
And that's so smart to do for kids books because kids are like, tell me about it, you know?
Yeah.
The mom in my episode is a complete imbecile. And I remember the actress having a really hard time with it. Really hard character for her to access. And another thing is my episode apparently had some real pedigree because she was like one of the preeminent like theater actresses in Toronto. And I guess she just did this one as a lark. But then the character was so dumb and like just missing every clue and cue and hint and you know, doing everything absolutely wrong.
I was really tickled. Like the basic premise for anyone who hasn't seen it is you're like your boy who has an older sister and she likes to tease you and scare you a lot, and so you're always on edge. And then like you said, both your parents are like these archaeologists, and your dad sent home a stock. What do they call it? Not a coffin, a sarcophagus or whatever.
A sarcophagus.
Yeah. And the mummy is in there, and it gets fucked with, and you think it's your sister, and then you think it's a mummy, and back and forth. But the mom the whole time is very just kind of airheaded, and then like remarkably angry at you and your sister for a moment, like when there's like a living mummy about to kill you guys, and then leaves it up to you, leaves up to the boy character to save his sister when the mummy starts to grab her and pulls her back up the staircase as it, I guess, to like eat her, destroy her. And the mom's just watching. It's like up to the little boy to go in and save the day. Everything about it is very wacky. In the best
also,
sort of way.
My sister in it systematically abuses me.
Yeah.
Not physically, but she tortures me systematically. Like, and the pranks that she pulls, her methods of torture are so elaborate, and you know would require just so much care to pull off. It's pretty like it's like the real monster in that episode is my sister for sure. The mom treats us as equal with it when it comes to like breaking up the arguments. Like both of you go to your rooms. I think.
That's
but that
so
is
realistic,
also
though.
of like a TV or a movie parent.
Yeah. Well, I was maybe that's why I related to Goosebumps, because my sister was horrible to me, and then like, but my mom was always just like, I think you're both equally bad. Like,
just like to be like diplomatic, like, I don't know, Caitlin, you're in trouble.
Basically, yeah.
I love it. Someone wanted to know, what is your skincare routine?
Oh God! All right. I don't have one. I mean,
Shouts
like
out.
I wash my face when I shower and then I moisturize. And my partner always tells me I put on too much moisturizer because my face always looks oily afterwards. That's it. That's how I do it. And you know, I only learned about the moisturizer recently, like within the last few years of my adult life. And prior to that, my skin would just get chapped and I get breakouts. So that's my skincare routine as it's evolved.
Nice.
I always wonder how many men just like don't moisturize their faces, because I feel like it has this, like, women were like marketed to, and how like that just seems so uncomfortable to me, because I feel like I would get so dry, and to me it's like naturally, even if I was like a woman in the woods, I would like find some aloe and be like, that's better. Like, you know, like how do you just do that every day?
People's face feel really dry. I don't know. I never. I honestly, like, I know I'm gonna sound like I'm being like playing coy or dumb, but like I don't ever have that sensation. I do. I use.
Do you take hot showers? Do you take hot, or do you take like medium or cold?
I start it extremely hot. This is if it's in the morning. If it's like evening, it's a little bit like all over the place. But in the morning, like I start really hot, and then once I'm actually done washing, I will turn it to really cold and hang out like in a really cold shower for about 2 minutes. Yeah.
Whoa, 2 minutes? Oh my
like
God.
A minute or two.
That's disgusting.
Yeah,
like,
it wakes me up.
Like sounds like a prison shower. You're like, it either has to be extremely hot or extremely cold, and I have to be miserable.
I'm not really a caffeine drinker, so like that's my way of like just waking up in the morning. And I get up really, Evan. I get up really early for work. Actually, I have to get up by like around like 5 or 6 in the morning. So that's just like my way of waking up, getting my eyes open. Woo! Just thinking about it now is refreshing.
I feel like it's taken me 3.5 decades to learn some extremely simple things that other people have known almost their entire lives.
I feel that very much.
And one of them is like ending on cold in the shower. And I'm serious, I'm not exaggerating. I just figured this out like 2 weeks ago that if I go to cold, and I'll only do it for a few seconds, but if I go to cold, then it'll be invigorating. Whereas my entire life, literally, I've been taking hot showers and then feeling really tired and needing like a nap or something, or a coffee at least.
Cold is also good. It'll also seal your pores, or if you just washed your hair and just like rinsed out conditioner, it'll seal it. So there's that.
Well, I knew that it was good for your hair to leave it on cold, but I thought just like maybe just a little less hot was sufficient. And
right.
And now I'm like really going cold with it. Like I brace myself, I close my eyes, and I just give it a hard twist and wait for that cold water. But I can only do like 10 seconds, and I'm sure it's not as cold as whatever you're doing. So, and again, that's something that I can aspire towards, and maybe I'll get bolder now.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone wanted to know, do you have a favorite soundtrack moment in a movie?
Peru. Okay, well, yeah. All right. This probably doesn't count because it's not a needle drop moment, although it kind of is because it's not actually score either. But the one that springs to mind is in the Truman Show when he first starts figuring out that like his world is sort of staged, that the whole comings and goings of everyone in his environment are kind of planned. And this Philip Glass track kicks in like right as he like lifts his arms up to like stop the traffic.
Yeah, I know exactly
That's
what you're talking about.
The most badass one for me, but it's like kind of it's used as score, so it probably doesn't answer the question. As far as like a song in a movie, I don't know. There's so many great like and super memorable ones, but the ones that always like bounce into my head instantly are the most obvious, like with like Boogie Nights or Scorsese.
Yeah.
Just the ones that you associate as being like, oh, the great soundtrack movies where they're just like using the songs, the way that like Spielberg uses John Williams, what I mean, to like really guide the edit and amp up certain sequences and punctuate things. And but so yeah, I don't know. Maybe do you guys have any that spring to your mind? Maybe that'll jog something for me.
That now that you're saying Scorsese, like Goodfellas is just like ripe with it for sure. Even like the very first one, God, I'm blanking now what the song is called, but it's that very first one where it's like that they're like burying the body, and it's like the first time he's like, ever since I was a kid I always wanted to be a made man or a mafia guy, whatever the fuck he says. And immediately it's that old time, what song is it? And it has like
is
this
it In the Still of the Night, or is that, am I getting it confused?
It's some older one like that's like a guy singer kind of thing, but it has like this descending like so like it gives like this like disorienting feel for like 2 seconds that makes you feel like really creeped out, and then immediately like it just sounds like some like smooth crooning kind of.
I know song. I'm listening to this song in my head. I just can't remember the name right now.
Yeah, it's bugging me, but I do really quickly.
There's just a blissful nothing going on in my head. So I have seen that movie though, but only once. I wouldn't know the soundtrack.
I do want to shout out that was a great that Truman Show. That I know exactly the score you're talking about in that moment, and he makes it so perfectly like whimsical. It's the exact music that you would think of someone who's like starting to realize, and it's kind of playful. It's like it has like this feeling of like someone's like, it really does feel like someone's like eyes opening up for the first time, and it's a little weird. That movie's fucking incredible.
My favorite movie.
The only one that first came to mind was the talk show host in Romeo and Juliet, when like Romeo's, I'm on a real Leo thing. Totally new for me. But when he's like in the sycamore grove and he's like by the beach and it's like but it's probably because I fell asleep to that DVD menu so many times that it's just like permanently embedded in my brain.
I've talked about that before, but there was like a solid era for people if you're of like the right age, where like between 2000, I don't know, 4 or 5 and 2008 or 9, like so much of my life was spent like sleeping to DVD menus or like having sex with like my girlfriends back then to like the repeating menu, and you can just hear it kind of in the back of your head where it's just like all of a sudden like you hear like especially those like goofier ones for comedies back then would be like like there's some weird noise going on. Rags to Riches by Tony Bennett. I had to look it up. That's the song.
Oh.
Right. Okay, so you know what? It wasn't even the one I was playing in my head. I think that might be from later in the movie when I think maybe it's in there when they're getting married and she's getting like the money in the envelopes.
Yeah.
But anyway, lots of good ones. I actually did think of another because I just rewatched this 2 nights ago. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, when the Monsters of Folk track kicks in before Sam Rockwell throws the dude out of the window into the street.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
You, my friend, I'm a huge, I always say this even though I host a goth show, my all-time favorite band is actually My Morning Jacket, and I love Jim James, and I know it's one of his songs that they used for that movie, and his contributions to that side project they all did, that Monsters of Folk thing. Woo, so good. I live and breathe that guy's music.
Yeah. One thing I noticed is Martin McDonagh seems to have like really great contemporary taste in like music. I know that Seven Psychopaths was full of the Walkman and you know, like he's hip.
The OC, actually, speaking of that, I mean, my God, that like a lot of it now, I mean, I don't know how much all of it holds up, but that show was very good at like pinning like the perfect like moment where, you know, Seth and Summer are about to kiss, and all of a sudden like you hear Ryan Adams doing a cover of Wonderwall or something like that, where it's just it's so on the nose, but at the same time you're kind of like, but this feels right.
That reminds me of the
It's
Sixpence None of the Richer song, like the Kiss Me,
Yeah.
and from She's All That, which is like one of the most unforgettable for whatever reason. Like you cannot hear that song without thinking about that movie and like her like being suddenly hot, you know. And like I was walking down the street and I just heard someone playing that in their car the other day, and I was just like, it was like time travel.
Yeah. I know this guy, Wes Anderson. I know like he, you know, to the point where like it can almost be like made fun because like his whole movies are practically just like never ending series of like needle drops. But I will say the Darjeeling Limited, which I've always thought was like kind of underrated from all of his other movies. A lot of people don't really ever talk about, but in the beginning of that movie he uses the Kinks' This Time Tomorrow. And the way he does it with like the slow-mo of Bill Murray and Adrian Brody both running towards the train trying to catch it in time, like every single time I think about it, it's just I think it's like used to perfection in that moment.
On the subject, just to go back a step, but of She's All That, I don't know if I'd ever seen that movie all the way through when I was young. I watched it maybe for the first time like 3 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it popped up on Netflix, and I was just like, okay, that looks like it's about right for, you know, my bowl of cereal. And well, firstly, that Sixpence None of the Richer song is amazing, and I'd seen that sequence for sure, or at least parodies of it, and it is great. And then there's my mind was blown that I'd never seen or knew about the choreographed prom dance sequence to Fatboy Slim.
Where did
and that was amazing. That blew my mind.
Usher, who's like the DJ at this prom, just goes like, all right, everyone, you know what to do. And everyone does know what to do. And I'm like, do they just like skip a period before, like for 3 months before fucking prom, and they learn this dance together? Like even the nerdy girl who's like, I fucking hate all this, but she begrudgingly is like, but I do know the dance moves, so I'll come out here and do it. It's like, they all knew it.
That was such a thing in 90s movies that I miss, and I love the fucking like dance sequence that everybody knows for some reason.
The whole world of that film just melts at that moment, where it's like everything, like the logic they've established, like the rules of that universe completely disregarded for the sake of that sequence. And I mean, it was clearly the right decision.
Yeah.
It made me want to remake the film. I Googled it. I was like, oh, what's going on with this? It's so good and so funny.
Yeah.
And they are doing, I think, a new one, but it's He's
no.
All That.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love
The other
it.
thing we noticed, and my partner was the first to point it out because she remembered that, like, when the film came out, everybody was, like, in love with Rachel Lee Cook and thought she was like super hot. And she looks so young in that movie. Like, when she comes down
Yeah.
the stairs, like, without her glasses, it's like a kid. It's just like so weird to, remember the mystique of that particular moment in that character and look at it now and just like, oh my God, she looks like she's really young.
Yeah.
But
I will agree. When I it's funny actually. I rewatched it recently as well. This is no lie. I'm not saying this for the podcast. I watched it with my wife on Valentine's Day as well. I rented an Airbnb and we did like this movie marathon thing. We were watching movies like literally all day long, and that was right up there with Kid. I just did say Kid Dynamite with Kid Detective on like the timeline that day. But yeah, as we're watching, I was like, Jesus. As a kid, of course, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so hot. Now I'm watching, I'm like, man, she is like uncomfortably young looking in this movie. But there, I guess.
Well, it is a high school movie. Yeah. I mean, that's
it is. But everyone else in the movie
is that we have so many movies of high schoolers just being hot and shows like where kids are like working after school at a burlesque club or something. Like, I don't understand. And then I don't know. It's so weird.
You're right. In the case of this one, I think that the other actors just were or looked way older.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
whoever plays Freddie Prinze's like girlfriend who breaks up with him at the beginning just looks a lot older, and I'm sure was a lot older. And like Paul Walker looks like a man, and Freddie Prinze Jr. looks like a man.
Also, shouts out to Paul Walker's like the voice he puts on when like he's trying to be like the good guy in front of Rachel Lee Cook's character. Like he literally like out of nowhere he'll just be like, dude, like that's not cool that you talk about like pussy and vaginas like that. He just like this voice he puts on, and then her character is supposed to be like brilliant among all these other people. She's like, hey, he's right. Everything about it's just so. I do want to shout out Matthew Lillard in that movie though. He is so fucking funny as like his wannabe
another
pub character.
Unbelievable, yeah. That the moment where he starts dancing at the party is just incredible. That cast is also surprisingly stacked. I think they had like, I know that Anna Paquin was in it, but I know there were a few other people that I was just like, holy shit! Like,
yeah, I forgot Eve is in it. Like,
this is fertile ground.
Yeah, it is like a crazy stacked movie. We are just past the hour mark. Let me see if we can do a couple quick questions before we play a little game here. So I want to know, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Don't Look Now. It's a pretty easy answer for me. I didn't know it was a horror movie. It's not a horror movie. It just happens to get fairly scary. And I watched it when I was in film school, and my screenwriting teacher put it on, and like I was, there's something about that movie. And
yes,
I don't want to. I know it's an old film, and we're not risking like. Have you guys seen
Spoilers?
it?
I did.
No, I'm looking it up.
I had to look it up because the name sounded familiar, but the second I saw the lady in the red coat, I was like, oh, yep, I know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that no one has remade this film, and that like that people are just like respectful of like what a true masterpiece it is, and the fact that it's not asking to be updated. There'd be no reason to do it. Yeah. It remains just like truly frightening and disturbing and beautiful, and of all the films of that particular era, and there's some scary ones like Rosemary's Baby scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it when I was young, and I wasn't prepared for it. Unlike The Exorcist, I was just like flipping through channels and happened upon it. The sequence of her when she's drugged and they're doing the satanic ritual, and like you see the hairy hands with like the claws all over. It's like that was probably the most scared I've ever been watching a movie. I was young at that time. I was an adult when I saw, or at least in university when I saw Don't Look Now, and it was the same feeling. And I don't know if I've ever felt like that elsewhere, except maybe at like sleepovers when I was 10, and they put on like the scary movie at the end of the night, and like Village of the Damned. I remember it scared the shit out of me when I was like 10 years old. I think I watched it a few years after, and it was just not scary at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, but you know, the Rosemary's Baby for sure, and Don't Look Now for me are just like so much more horrifying in terms of like the nightmare, the nightmare that they're rendering, and it's just like it gets me in a way that suspense films, like slasher films, as much as I love them, and like Scream is certainly one of my favorite movies of the 90s.
Yeah.
Just absolutely love it. But it doesn't scare me on the deep level of like something that is surreal, that feels like a nightmare, and that combines imagery that might not even be literal. Like there's something about that, I guess, because it feels more nightmarish, that just gets me on a deeper level.
Yeah, I feel that. And especially, I feel like certain movies that are made like in the late 60s and like early to mid 70s, like it has just like a slight look to it too, where, and like, of course they were using like a lot of practical effects. And if you don't, you know, if you blur your eyes a little bit or you allow yourself to kind of get lost in it, it's just, it really is affecting, especially if you're younger. I remember when I used to I was obsessed with the original Omen as a kid. And like, it felt like you were watching like a fucking fucked up like PBS documentary or something like that, because it was like a little bit older. And like now, of course, if you watch it, like, you know, you can kind of see like the strings and this and that. But like as a kid, like, yeah, there's a lot of surreal moments in that, especially when the nanny kills herself and she says, "It's all for you, Damien." It's like my all-time favorite thing to reference.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Okay, one last one, and then we'll play our quiz. Because we got a lot of them in here. I just want to make sure we give assumption. Oh, someone wanted to know. Okay, have you ever made a prank call?
Yeah, many. I was made when I was 12 or 13. I think we used to make lots of prank calls. I don't know if I could remember what the pranks were.
Is your refrigerator running?
I don't even know if we did the conventional jokes like that. I think we just call people with weird voices.
Yeah, that was very much what me and my friend. Oh man, that was like a classic era, like calling from like the house phone. Like, right? I mean, I guess caller ID probably did exist then, but like there was like that golden era during like sleepovers where you call, and yeah, there was no script. It was just all improvised. But then like once you actually talk to someone, like you'd just kind of be like, hi, is Denise there, or some shit like that. Which in retrospect is like, oh god, like you call the wrong person. They think it's like a serial killer trying to get a hold of them or something like that.
I had like a pretty good knack for impersonating people when I was younger, and like people I knew, and I have a vague memory of like in middle school, like calling my friend as her boyfriend and like breaking up with her, thinking that it would be really funny, and then being like, and then her like being really upset, and then like not answering, like hanging up on me and not answering the phone, and I was like, that wasn't real. And then she like didn't believe me. Like it was gnarly.
Holy shit, Kaylin, that's fucked up.
I know, but it was as if it was like I called her and I like got her to like sit, like trash talk him a bunch, and then I pretended to be him listening in.
Oh my god, Jesus.
Yeah.
That is so sick. That's some twisted shit. I love it. It's like Goosebumps level. Okay. So Evan, we always end the show with a personality quiz. We like to dig deep into the dark, deep trenches of the internet and try to find the best and the brightest when it comes to personality quizzes. Although, typically we enjoy finding one from like the turn of the century. We like something that falls between like the 2001, 2004 era. However, this was actually developed in 2020. This was a pandemic quiz. But it felt too right to have you, sir, who wrote yourself a murder mystery with the kid detective. So this is called What Will Happen to You in a Murder Mystery. You are a detective in a murder mystery. What happens to you at the end of the day? So you have about 10 or so questions. All right.
Cool.
You were invited to a spooky mansion. You came a few minutes late. At dinner, the butler went to get dessert. Then the lights went out. You heard a scream and a thud. When the lights turn back on, the butler's dead body is lying in the kitchen. Who did it? These are your options. Suicide. I don't know. I'm scared. the host, or the maid?
Well, now that I know the options, I'd love to rehear it, but that would take some time. So maybe, I don't know. What does me having late have to do with anything? It has to be a clue of some kind. We had dessert.
These are usually
Then
like
there was noise
11-year-olds
from the
writing this
kitchen.
quiz, so I wouldn't overthink it.
Right. I guess I don't know, and I'm scared. I wouldn't presume it was the maid or the host.
That would be fucked up if
This
that
is a
happened.
realistic scenario.
Yeah, if you actually went into the kitchen and you saw someone like that, you immediately turned to the host and you're like, "What the fuck did you do?" I was running late and your butler's dying. What the fuck? Okay, so we're gonna go with no, I'm scared. And I don't know what the answer is yet. We'll soon find out. But the second question is, you search the kitchen for clues and you find your wallet beside the victim's body. What do? You frame the cook, you frame the host, you confront the others and ask who stole your wallet and framed you, or you put it back in your pocket and don't tell anyone.
I think I would do the third option, which is to confront everybody and put it out in the open rather than disturb the crime scene.
All right. Oh, I like that.
I would totally put it in my pocket and be like, I don't know.
See,
try and put your foot over.
I
like
feel
one
like
of those,
I'd be tempting fate if I did that.
True.
Yeah.
If there's a dead body and I genuinely had nothing to do with it, I'm not going to touch, anything.
You
Just
know, the
leave it be.
truth does not always save you from our incarceration system, though.
The others see your wallet. The maid walks up to you and says you must be the murderer. What do? You say you dropped it when you were investigating the body. You deny it. You ignore her and ask her how the electrical system works. She could let something slip. Or say that there was a secret passage the cook might have been in. Wow, deflecting.
So what were the first two again?
You say you dropped it when you were investigating the body, or you deny it.
The wallet was there.
No, I was gonna say, I'm not sure
I
what
just
you're
pointed to
denying.
it and told everybody that my wallet is there.
This doesn't exist.
No, I know, but they've discounted that anyone's going to choose the third option of the previous question. So
Yeah. That's
okay,
true.
so what's number one?
Say you dropped it when you were investigating the body. Sounds like
Okay. Yeah, but no. Okay, and then number two, I deny it, just flat out deny it.
you say, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Or you ignore her, you deflect, and you ask her how the electrical system works, hoping that she'll let something slip.
I guess I got to do that because it's the only one that makes sense with my previous answer.
Ignoring her, just like, and then going straight to saying that. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4, your partner shows up. She suspects the host. She finds the host diary. It reads, I shall do the act I've meant to do since the first time I saw that maid today. What do you think? You say the host and cook were working together most likely. He's not talking about the murder. You can't decide, or whatever she says.
Okay, now I'm really confused. So I'm a detective? I thought I was a guest. I was there before the murder.
You're a guest, but you're also a detective.
Correct. According to Mr. Green, who
Right.
developed this quiz in November. We can email him too. I have a button right here where I could write him an email.
I guess I would. Shit, I don't know. The maid is dead. I thought the butler was dead.
I know.
I'm also confused about who's dead.
Well, that's
The
why.
maid literally just confronted me
Well,
about
that's
my wallet being on the ground.
that might be why one of the options are he's not talking about the murder, because all it says is I shall do the act. I've meant to do it since the first time I saw the maid today. So
Yeah.
maybe it was
okay,
supposed to be
then
the maid.
let's go with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's talking about something else.
Okay. All right. And for you gumshoes at home, tell us, right, to Goth Yearbook and let us know what you think. The maid is killed while you were looking at the journal. Oh, okay. Well, now she's dead.
Shit.
Who murdered the maid? Whoever stole your wallet. I need to hide. There's a lunatic on the loose. Fair. She faked her own death, or I knew it. It was the cook and the host. Man, why does the cook keep getting drawn into this?
Definitely number 2.
I need to hide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just leave would be a better option.
Yeah, no shit. I'd be like, this is one fucked up dinner. Bye. You find a frying pan. You find a frying pan next to the maid's body. That's such like an old school, like, I don't know, like Muppets way of killing her. Does this change your mind? Perhaps the host did the first and the cook the second. The guy really wants the cook to be incarcerated on this one.
I am hidden.
Well, no,
I am hiding somewhere.
Number 2, then option number 2 is I'm still hiding. Number 3 is no, I still think she faked it. And number 4 is the host is trying to frame the cook.
I like
It's
that,
possible.
that the murder weapon, like, it has to be related to your line of work. Like,
Yeah.
for like,
Like
and the host couldn't have run in and just grabbed a frying pan without him being like, yeah, this will frame the
Yeah.
cook. It's like,
The maid come down because it wasn't a guy stabbed to death with a dust bunny.
yeah, that's funny.
What are you called?
It's possible I'm realizing now that maybe you're meant to view these as individual scenarios rather than like a choose your own adventure where you keep doubling down on what you've done before. But I'm sure that that's not the case and that there are just some things that don't quite work together. But I'm going to go with number 2 and because I'm still hiding.
Okay. I can also report this quiz as illegal content. It's always an option.
Eric is just bitter because he made a personality quiz that
That was
got
denied. It was rejected. It was my more of a Stevie Ray Vaughan or Vince Vaughn. It got
and he,
denied.
yeah, they said it wasn't high enough quality content.
Oh, I'm going to frame that email somewhere. It's so good. Okay. Focus. The host leans down to check the maid's pulse. He says she's dead. You notice the host is eyeing a candlestick on the shelf. What is this? Here are your options. I'll tell my partner. He's planning a murder. He hopes it isn't stolen. I don't care.
All right. To be clear, I am still hiding.
Yeah.
I am not in their proximity. But
Maybe you're hiding like in the pantry or something.
yeah, it's maybe, possibly. I think that in that scenario, I guess I would tell my partner that he's looking at the candlestick. You know, if he was planning to murder everybody, you'd think maybe he wouldn't need the candlestick and we just have another weapon of some kind. But
Right.
let's roll with that.
All right. Your partner comes into the room. How do you greet them? Hello? With a question mark. Look what happened. Hi. Or you stay silent.
I'm really curious what this one reveals ultimately. I'm going to say, look what happened, I guess.
I like to stay silent, like you're just watching as your partner walks around the room as you're hiding, and like you're just like waiting for them to get murdered.
Damn, that's fucked up. Maybe you're the murder. Okay. Yeah, it's loading.
Ooh, that would be crazy if you were the murderer in this.
Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. The longer we go into the quiz, for some reason, the more it needs to load. Your partner checks the maid's pulse and discovers she's alive.
Whoa.
The cook accuses the host, and your partner leaves with the host. What the fuck?
What?
Case closed? Question mark. Here are your options. You grab the candlestick and leave. One just says, because the question's technically case closed, so one of your options is no, the other is yes, and the other is no, I'll need to interview the host in court.
So I'm a lawyer as well as a detective.
Real jack of all trades, this detective.
I think I'm just going to go with the no. I'm going to keep going with what I would
No.
actually do in this scenario.
Okay.
Because I didn't know I was a detective in the beginning. I feel like that is, in a way, kind of set me on a particular course where I'm not really involving myself to the extent that I otherwise might.
All right. I can feel that.
You're like a shy detective. You're like, I don't want to be
Sure,
involved
yeah.
in this case.
Well, I'm off duty. I was
Yeah.
invited as a guest, obviously.
Yeah.
And
You don't like to bring
I
your
guess
work
we
home.
just finished dessert. Hmm.
You walk towards the door to leave or get your partner. It's locked. You go back to the maid's body and find it gone. An Alexa device is playing a song. Where do you search? This is so ridiculous. Mr. Green, what kind of wild goose chase is this? Okay. An Alexa device is playing a song. Where do you search? Wherever the cook is not? I'll stay here. The back window or the butler's body?
Wait, you're looking for a body in
You're-
the butler's body?
You're
Wait,
looking...
I'm completely lost.
What
is Alexa playing? That's what I
know.
want.
I was curious what she'd be playing. Something like, it'd have to be like some creepy old, like on the Hollywood Tower Tear, like when you're in the lobby, like some creepy old timey music. It'd have to be something like that.
Yeah.
I like that in this person's universe, like they're in a mansion with like a butler and a cook and like all
Alexa.
these and like no fancy actual weaponry, but there is an Alexa. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no like violinist that's there to play.
It would be like, Alexa, call the police.
That's right. No, it's true. Everyone is being murdered with a blunt instrument, and yet this is set in present day. Okay, so the options were to look through the window, to stay where I am.
The butler's body, or wherever the cook is not.
Let's try the butler's body. I don't know what we're looking for anymore, but let's try it.
Maybe you're looking for the Alexa.
We're looking for the.
I know.
Okay.
I honestly have no idea. I
Yeah.
can't lie. I'm a little lost on this one.
I feel bad that it's like I don't want to just make fun of the quiz, but narratively, it's problematic.
It's all over the place. Yeah.
Before you, maybe it's like a memento thing. You're actually like watching the murders in reverse. Your partner comes back with the person. Before you can move, you hear a scream. The cook ran in the room and said that the host was dead and your partner was gone. What do? You agree with the cook. You tell
You're right.
You tell the cook that the host killed himself. You check the diary of the host, or you ask the cook for a key. A key to what? I guess because you're locked in the house. Because it said you couldn't leave, so I guess for a key to get out of the house.
At this point, I guess, let's ask the cook for a key.
All right. The last question, your partner runs in, gasps, and collapses by your feet. What do? You lock the doors. Something isn't right. So you take those keys and confirm the doors are locked. You call your boss and say to them, come right away. My partner's gone crazy. The host is alive and he's attacked her. Or let's get out of this house. I'll blame the cook.
Can I just say this whole time I thought when you said partner, you were being PC and that the writer actually said like husband or wife and you changed it to partner to be gender neutral. And now I'm just realizing, because Eric will do that, he'll make everything gender neutral. And now I'm realizing that you actually mean like partner, like crime.
Yeah, this is actually news to me because it said she specifically when it said earlier. So that's why I thought they meant like romantic partner. So I don't know. It's all fucked up. But anywho, those are your 4 options.
And it's a fellow detective. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because she arrives after the murder. They didn't show up together as part of a dinner event or occasion. But okay, so one of option C isn't even something my character's doing. I don't think, right? It's just something the host does.
That's what's so crazy. It's like, what do you do? And then the option for something that you do is the host is alive. He's attacked her. So I don't know. I guess you just stand there.
Right. Let's go with C. I guess. I don't know. No,
Okay.
I guess what was the last one? Using the key to get out of there?
Yeah, it says, let's get out. I'll blame the cook. So I guess then you're like, no matter what,
I don't know about blaming the cook, but I've been looking for a way out for a while. So I guess I could do that.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's just like in the moment you're like, we just need to get the fuck out of here. Like we'll just say it's Cook. I don't care. Like get me out of this murderous game of Clue. Okay. We are tallying the results right now. For 42%. So funny, still uses the percentage. You got it right. Wait, well, let me ask you this. Who do you think did it? Do you have an idea? Because it tells me what the actual
I don't even
is.
know what happened at this point.
Well, here you go. This
Neither do I. I have no idea what the death toll is.
Yeah, who died?
I guess
I think
one
everyone was
person is
alive.
Here's what happened, guys. You discovered the maid killed the butler and faked her own death. She jumped out the window with the candlestick and killed the host. She then kidnapped your partner. Your boss showed up and arrested the maid. Good job.
Great. There we go.
This one of the comments, just the top comment is on the site is someone that just says what? Well, you know what? Hey, I'll say this, we give these personality quizzes to our guests and they always end up revealing something kind of true about themselves. We usually laugh during it and just say like this is ridiculous, but you know what? Regardless of the fact that we had no idea what the fuck was going on, the quiz determined that you still were able to solve it, and you as a mystery writer should have a knack for fucking solving mysteries. So you know what? I feel like you were still seen, even though
You cracked it.
Yeah, you cracked the
That's
case.
cool. That's all they say about my personality?
Yeah.
They just explain the plot to whatever the fuck was just going on.
Yeah, so it's the personality test determined ultimately that I'm good at solving personality test mysteries.
Yep, there you go. That's part of your personality now.
Cool, great.
Or maybe it's always been.
Hey, there you go.
I love thinking that this was either like an 11-year-old just like like typing away that like just saw Clue and they were like, I could do better, or it was like just someone on meth.
Yeah, someone is just like, woo, like really getting into it.
It was the butler, and then
yeah, they have like all these papers up on their wall, and the only way that they can like get out their ideas on allthetest.com. Oh,
well,
boy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think my only critique of this one was just that there were too many choose your own adventure moments that the author is just hoping you're not going to choose because they take you off the path.
Yeah.
And it's funny remembering those choose your own adventure books. Whenever you did something like what I attempted to do in this quiz, which is just sort of excuse myself, like, I'm going to hide, or I'm going to be uncontroversial. I'm not going to accuse anybody, things like that. You would always flip to the page and there'd be like a short paragraph that's just like, you go home and everything's fine. And like, you get the A that you needed on your paper or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just they have no use for you. They have no time for you. It's like you haven't earned anything more than like 3 or 4 sentences of good job, man. Yeah, your life is great. you did the
they're
right
like,
thing.
yeah, thanks for not taking any risks and having no fun with this fictional universe at all. Goodbye. Close the book. Get out of here.
Yeah, no adventure for you. Yeah.
I remember Goosebumps dipped their toes in a couple of those actually, and I remember like I would, you flip to it, but you keep like a finger back at the other one. But then sometimes like I wasn't sure. I'd be like, well, what if I don't like the 2 options on like the one that's next to this one? So I'd have like 3 fingers bookmarking backwards, and then I'd be like, let's take me back to the original thing. I don't like how it's just like absolutely
There's
like
a
trying to
special
like
place. Yeah.
trying to jock the system of like a choose your own adventure.
I think there's a special place in heaven for all those children who just honored the one adventure they went on.
Yeah,
Never doubled back.
They
just
died.
went on one adventure and put the book away.
Yeah, they died, and they're like, "Oh well." They just
That was it. Yeah, that is like,
it's like
that was
so much of the book they didn't even like.
what I chose.
They're like, well, I must live with the
That's
consequences.
That's a serial
My
killer.
choices.
That's like the John Doe from the movie Seven. That's like what he did as a kid. Like that's fucked
Yeah,
up.
that's a great personality test. It's true.
If you went on a first date and someone said they did that and they were like so earnest, like, oh, that to me that'd be such a red flag. I'd be like, that's fucked up. But you know what isn't fucked up? Our good friend Evan Morgan. That is the end of the show, my friend. I can't thank you enough for being willing to come on and answer all these questions and play. To date was probably the most ridiculous personality quiz we've probably done yet.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Thank you. And no, it was a blast. Thanks for having me. And yeah, this was a ton of fun.
Real quickly, where can people like for the plugs and stuff like that? Where's the best place for people to catch the Kid Detective?
Kid Detective right now, I think you can rent everywhere on any kind of like digital platform, and I think it's coming out on Stars in I don't know, a few weeks, and then it'll hopefully be somewhere else after that. But right now, yeah, it's just available for rent.
Hell yeah, awesome. Well, again, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Again, for anyone who's out there listening and hasn't seen it yet, like I strongly urge you to go check it out. It's so good. Thank you, sir. That was an absolute blast. We will definitely find an excuse to have you back on the show. Again, we kind of shouted out at the beginning, but please, everyone, go take a look at our Patreon, patreon.com/Goth Yearbook After Hours. And we are on all the social medias at Goth Yearbook on Instagram, at Goth Yearbook AF on Twitter. Yeah. And otherwise, with that, Caitlin, thank you for being the co-host with the Mo-host. I'm going to say goodnight, y'all. Good night, guys.
All right, good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.